Hey there, Scaling Up Nation. Trace Blackmore here, and I'm excited to share with you how Aquaphoenix Scientific is revolutionizing water data management. Save time, improve efficiency, reduce reporting time, and improve customer relationships while also ensuring compliance with Aquaphoenix's Aliquot. The Aliquot cloud-based platform streamlines reporting and compliance, making data collection and analysis easier than ever for you and your teams. When it comes to water treatment, efficiency is everything. That's why having all of your data at your fingertips, effortlessly organized and analyzed, saves you time and allows you to make better decisions. With Aliquot, you can focus on what matters most, optimizing your operations and ensuring compliance. This means less time spent on paperwork and more time improving your water treatment program. Whether you're managing multiple sites or just one location, Aliquot helps you stay on top of your data. Head over to scalinguph2o.com/APS. Once again, that's scalinguph2o.com/APS. Aquaphoenix Scientific, your one-stop solution for smart water and chemical management. Attention water treatment experts. Pyxis Lab is your trusted PTSA partner. Pyxis offers not only the world's leading devices for PTSA fluorescent detection, but also provide the tracer chemical at unbeatable prices. Our ST500 series of inline PTSA devices ensures widely accurate monitoring while compensating for color and turbidity. Protect your system assets today and gain peace of mind with Pyxis Lab. Don't settle for less when it comes to your water treatment needs. Go to scalinguph2o.com/Pyxis. Once again, that's scalinguph2o.com/PYXIS. Pyxis, because water professionals deserve better. Welcome to the Scaling Up H2O Podcast, the podcast where we scale up on knowledge so we don't scale up our systems. I'm Trace Blackmore, your host for this most amazing industrial water treatment podcast. Nation, it is so cool to go to an event and there are so many people that know about this podcast. There are so many people that make this podcast part of their regular routine, and I think that is amazing. Now, I'm doing some things in my personal life, and I'll share all of those with you towards the end of the year like I always do that challenge me to grow. And I think some of you are doing that. You are doing things each and every day to challenge yourself to grow. Maybe this podcast is helping you do that. Maybe you are challenging yourself a little bit more and a little bit more often. While I am telling you this, I'm not telling you what I'm doing, but I am telling you that I take my own medicine. And I never like to stay satisfied that everything is fine the way that it is. I truly believe in sharpening the saw mentally, physically, spiritually, socially, and mentally. I'm always reading. I'm always trying to do and learn something new. Let me tell you, nation, this podcast helps me do that each and every week, because this podcast does not put itself together. Of course, we've got to research not only our guests, but what we are going to do in the podcast. And Nation, as you know, some of your favorite shows are Pinks and Blues episodes, and those are some of the most challenging for me because those are all me telling you the information that you asked me for, and I've got to make sure that I get that information right. So all this to say, how are you sharpening the saw for yourself? If you've never heard that story, the story goes, there was a man out in the woods and he was sawing down a tree. Another man came up by him and said, "Hey, what are you doing?" The guy, as tired as he could be, because he had been there for hours, says, "Well, can't you see for yourself? I'm sawing this tree down." And the other guy said, "Wow, it looks like you're really working hard." He goes, "Yeah, I've been working hard at this for about 4 hours now." And the other guy looked at him and said, well, looks like your saw needs to be sharpened. Have you thought about sharpening your saw? And the other guy looked back at the man asking the question and said, you idiot, I can't sharpen the saw. I'm too busy sawing down this tree. Now, that little story tells us that a lot of us are too busy sawing to take time to sharpen the saw. And of course, if we took time to sharpen the saw, we would have a lot more time because whatever we were doing would be more efficient. We would be more effective. I heard Dr. Stephen Covey say once, a lot of us are too busy driving to take time to get gas. And doesn't that just put things into perspective that we're so busy producing, we're not doing the maintenance that we need? Now, if we read the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, he refers to the goose and the golden egg. He says that if all we do is want to get those golden eggs out of the goose, like the farmer in the story did, he lopped off the goose's head to reach down to get all the eggs at once. And of course, he didn't find a single egg. He killed the asset that was producing what he wanted. So all of this is to kind of put some stories around. We are so busy doing some of the best water treatment services that we can for our customers each and every day. But are we sharpening the saw for ourselves? Are we ourselves making sure that we are staying on top of our game? But not only that, we are making ourselves better. One of the things I suggest people do is to do one extra thing each time or one different thing each time you go service an account. By the end of the year, if it's a monthly account, you're going to be doing 12 different things. And that allows you to stretch how you look at that account, how you service the account. To me, that keeps that account always providing me with something new. It never gets boring. I'm always learning, and that customer is getting 12 brand new things over that contract's year that they should be impressed with, because most people aren't going to do that like you are. So I hope this has allowed you to think about your day-to-day and making sure you're using today to make tomorrow even better. Well, nation, somebody that does that each and every week for us is our friend James McDonald. And here is a brand new What Do You Know?
Hello and welcome to What Do You Know? The game show where we find out what do you know about industrial water treatment, drop by drop. So pump up your brain, take out that test kit of knowledge, and prepare to answer this week's question on What Do You Know? Today's question is, what are some reasons for softener resin beads to crack? Possible reasons include osmotic shock, oxidation, thermal shock, degradation, high pressure drops, water hammer, and age. Resin type may play a role as well, since some may be more susceptible to cracking than others. I'm James McDonald, and thanks for playing along with us. Stay tuned for next week's episode of What Do You Know?
Well, thank you, James. And if you need to catch up on any of the What Do You Knows, you can go to scalinguph2o.com, go over to any of our show notes pages, and we have those for you. James does a tremendous job with those, and he's always keeping us on our toes. And this year, we've been doing a social media challenge each and every week where we give you a preview of James's question that he asked us on Friday. We ask you that a little bit earlier, and then we announce who the winners are after the show airs. So if you want to get involved with that, connect with us on LinkedIn and you can play along with What Do You Know with James and the rest of the Scaling Up Nation. Well, Nation, so many people tune in to learn about what they should be looking out for with upcoming events. And of course, we want to make the Scaling Up H2O podcast the one-stop place where you can find everything industrial water related. Nation, if you are a business owner and you are planning to go to the Association of Water Technology's annual convention at the Broadmoor Hotel in Colorado Springs, Colorado, go ahead and arrive a day early. Now, November 12th through 15th is the convention. On November 11th, that is the business owners meeting. And I know several people on that committee, and they have just put such a great program together for you. And I would hate for you to miss it. So we're going to have all the information that you're going to need to register for the business owners meeting by going to scalinguph2o.com and going over to our events section. Definitely, you do not want to miss that if you are a business owner. Mark your calendars for November 9th through 13th for the Water Quality Technology Conference taking place in Tacoma, Washington. This year's focus is how do you keep up with fast-moving water quality issues and get solutions to those issues. So join water professionals from across the United States and around the world to discuss ongoing emerging issues that affect water quality. We're going to have all the information for you on this conference by going to our events page. Also, November 9th through 13th, the 2025 International Water Conference is having their conference in Orlando, Florida. Folks, a couple of years ago, I was honored by being the keynote speaker at the International Water Conference. And if this is not a conference that you've attended before, this is something that you want to put on your calendar. I think they have some of the best quality papers in the industry. They definitely scrutinize every single paper that comes to that conference, and you will not only hear the person present the paper, you will hear an opposing view of that paper. And it's just a really neat process to witness, and you are going to get so much technical information from this conference. So Nation, of course, that's not all that's going on in the water treatment industry. If you want to learn more about the events that might be closer to you and maybe affect the type of business that you have, go to scalinguph2o.com, go over to our events page, and we have absolutely everything you could hope for as far as a calendar goes, with everything going on in the industrial water treatment industry when it comes to events and conferences. Nation, I am so excited to introduce my guest to you today. She is a friend. She is a fellow Rising Tide Mastermind member. And Nation, here is that interview. My lab partner today is Tia Amundson, HR Director at HOH Water Technologies. Tia, welcome to the Scaling Up H2O podcast.
Yeah, thank you for the opportunity today, Trace. I'm excited to speak with you.
I'm excited about this interview as well because we are going to rewrite what people think about the Human Resources Department. Are you ready?
I'm ready for that. I love that.
Tia, before we do that, do you mind letting the Scaling Up Nation know a bit about what your day-to-day looks like?
Yeah, so my day-to-day, a lot of what I do is employee connections. A lot of what I'm doing is really meeting with our leadership team and assuring that we're in alignment, our strategies are in alignment. And number one is really caring for our employees. That's my main priority.
How did you get into the world of water treatment?
So I fell into it, right? I had the opportunity to work at HOH right out of college. The idea was I was going to do some filing and office administrative work there before I went back to college. And I started the HR department there and got the opportunity to work in water treatment, which I'm so grateful for. even though not a lot of people actually know what that is, working in water treatment. But I just love the industry. I think it's a great opportunity, especially bringing people into it, people that love that continuous learning. I love to have the opportunity to bring new people into the water treatment industry.
Tia, you shared what HR really is and what they should be doing with the Rising Tide Mastermind at last year's live event. And I think you would agree a lot of people left there with a new definition of what HR should be.
Yeah, the goal was to just open up people's minds that HR is not just someone you go to with a problem, that they really, are a part of the bigger strategy and can have a significant impact on the workplace overall.
I think most people will think of HR, oh no, I have to go to HR. I just got in trouble. I said something I shouldn't have said. Now I have to go to some sort of class. And that's not what it's supposed to be. It's supposed to be a strategic partner. So how should we be looking at HR?
Yeah. So for me, I think HR has evolved over time, and really HR was, someone you would go to if you had a pay change, right? Or yeah, someone that you would go to with a problem. And really what we've done internally at HOH is I think we've opened up that door to our employees, and we really start by doing that even in the first stage of interview processes, really being open, honest, genuine in those conversations and starting that relationship, building that relationship there and reinforcing that we're going to care for our employees. And then we do that really by check-ins. We do 30-day, 60-day, 90-day check-ins. We do 6 months, a year, and now we've extended it to 2 years. And they know that we're there to listen. We want to assure that we're a listening ear, that they can share issues. We can work to, resolve some issues with the feedback loop and really reinforce the culture that we're trying to build. So it's a relationship here between HR and the employees. And I think that's what we need to be doing as HR.
I would think at a 30-day check-in, you're really making sure that the person's connecting, they've got all the tools they need, they feel like they're becoming a member of the team or they already are a member of the team. How does that change through 60, 90, a year, 2 years?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing that we see as they're evolving and changing is really number one, they're becoming more comfortable how to find resources internally in our company. They're relating better to, their manager. They're building connections with their managers. They're building connections with the team as well. And so it's really exciting as we go through these different stages in the check-in process to hear the progress that they've made, whether it's, being connected with their team, knowing how we go through, because Trace, we run on EOS as well, and really like getting that, the system of EOS locked down. So understanding how the L10s work and how they can be effective and contribute more to those L10s, those weekly meetings. And so it's a great opportunity to not only connect with the employee, but hear the progress that the employee is making, really just integrating into the company. And to be honest, I mean, it hasn't, majority, I can say, have been really excellent check-ins, but sometimes there's a check-in that'll come up where there is a disconnect. And it allows us to reach out to that manager and help kind of like bridge that gap in terms of understanding between the employee and the manager. Or even we've gotten excellent feedback on how we can improve our onboarding in those check-ins. So yeah, that's kind of how it's progressed over time.
That's so proactive because most companies, they don't address that until there's an issue to address.
Mm-hmm.
But you're finding before there's an issue that there is a disconnect, and now you're putting those back in a line so that issue never occurs.
Yep. And it really helps us really even build a relationship with the manager and coach the manager. It's an opportunity to coach the manager through some of that as well. So yeah, it's been a game changer, I think, internally for us. And you read the statistics that like 90 days is the most critical time in an employee's working career and if they're going to be successful for the long run. And that's why we've, gone ahead and implemented this.
I know culture is huge at HOH, and you guys do a lot of work around culture. But I can't help but think there's somebody listening today thinking that if I'm managing somebody and HR is now getting involved, that's now usurping my authority, or that's going to make me seem like maybe I'm not doing what I should be doing. How do you get around that so you can start to have meaningful conversations and meetings like what you just described?
So I have been very intentional about building relationships with our managers, that they know I am only there to support them and to build them up, that I'm on their team, right? It's this idea that I am a part of their team, whether it's our managers or our employees. And it takes a while, right? I mean, there's some, particularly newer managers that might come in and have that like scar tissue going into the relationship with me. But I think they see that, I care for their employees, I care for them. And when they recognize that and they're seeing my actions, match my words, we're building this trust. And then when I do have to, reach out to them, should there be an issue, they know that I'm on their side and I'm only trying to do what is best for them and their growth and development. I'm always presenting it as here's an opportunity, for you as well as for your employee on how we can, as a company, make improvements. So that's kind of my approach to it. And I think it's really refreshing for those managers that come in and feel like it's HR against them.
Can you explain the concept of leveraging HR as a strategic advantage?
Yeah. So I think HR as a strategic advantage is this concept that to be competitive in our ever evolving business landscape, you need to attract really great talent. And you have to work on retaining your talent. And a lot of that comes down to building a strong culture, engaging your employees, and really providing this exceptional workplace for them to thrive. Any water treatment company can provide the same products, the same services in this industry, but you need something to differentiate yourself from the competitors. And for us, we're confident that we're bringing the right people into our company that are going to be thriving, growing, and being able to support their clients really with high quality service. And I think that's like a main driving factor that differentiates us. And so really pouring into your employees, they're going to pour into their work, right? Which then allows them to put in that extra discretionary effort. In my role as HR, I partner with the owner and with the leadership team to understand what our needs are in the business and align the HR initiatives accordingly there. And so the number one thing is bringing in the right talent to our company and creating that environment where employees can thrive and people are engaged. So HR is a talent manager, we're that culture champion, and we're a strategic advisor.
One of the highest costs to any company is employee turnover. How can strategic HR practices help reduce employee turnover?
Yeah, significantly, Trey, significantly. And we've seen this direct impact in our company. I've been at HOH for 11 years, and we've had a time where there was some significant turnover in our company, and we were seeing the impact on the bottom line from that. And so that caused us, right, to work diligently on setting up and implementing some of these HR strategies among a lot of other things. But we really implemented some really clear strategies there. And our turnover rates, because of this, we were seeing our turnover rates were decreasing and our engagement scores were increasing at that time. And then what we've also seen is that direct correlation to really positive profitability and financial success. We're in the best shape financially as we have ever been as a company. And I think what drives our success is our employees. and it's not the owners, it's not the, individually the managers. And so really what we need to do is engage our teams, ensuring that, compensation is aligned and that we're paying competitively and fairly. We're providing really good compensation packages, benefit packages. We're pouring into the growth and development. We're working as a leadership team really to get those foundational systems in place and getting clear on what our mission, our vision, our values are, so that, this has a direct impact on how employees feel like they're clear on expectations. They know, how they have a direct impact on the company. And this is then going to retain them, right? And that retention of employees has a huge cost on a company's financial profitability. And so by doing all of these things, I think these HR strategies really help to get an employee to feel that this is the right place that I want to work. And then we're able to retain them and reduce the cost of turnover overall.
Most of the things you mentioned revolve around culture. You're very intentional around culture. Any advice for people that are listening that maybe they have an okay culture, but they know they can do a little bit more? How can they intentionally make their culture better?
Yeah, that's a great question, Trace. And I think a lot of companies struggle with that. And so when you think about culture, culture is what is actually happening in your company, right? Culture is the habits, is the patterns that you see that are being displayed every day in your company. And to cultivate this intentional culture, you need to be clear on a few key strategies, I think. And I'm gonna consistently repeat this number one piece, but I think having a purposeful vision and clear values so that your employees know how to align their actions with the company's goals. When there's an alignment, it creates the sense of direction and purpose, which is number one, like foundational for engagement and creating a positive culture there. I think another thing that, can be talked about is like, it seems like it's not the big word strategy, but I think it's so simple as really fostering open communication and transparency within a company. That has been something that I think has been vital to us and really what has driven this piece of intentional culture that we're trying to create here. And I think one thing that has worked really well for us to open this communication and to broaden this transparency, what we do is we do open book management. And what that is, it's where you share your financials and your company operations, all that information with the employees so that they can engage in the understanding of the company, the business economics, and how the company is performing, which I think has had a huge positive impact on. They see like, oh, the company is going to share their financials and all of this information with us. It brings you up to just like that next level of trust within a company. And really, I think a few other pieces is just that opportunity for growth and development, showing employees that you're committed to that. Another thing is just recognizing and rewarding your employees is so powerful for building that intentional culture, because when you take that time to reinforce the positive behaviors that employees are displaying, they, and aligning it with your core values, aligning it with your mission, it just reinforces what you want, right? Again, as I said in the beginning, it reinforces the habits and the patterns that are being displayed.
I love that you're sharing numbers with your entire team. And I'm sure somebody is listening thinking, oh my goodness, I can't share all these numbers with my team. I'm sure you all went through the same discussion. How did you decide, no, it's more worthwhile for everybody who's contributing to know what they're contributing to? And any of the bad stuff that could happen is far less if they didn't have this information.
Well, when you put the numbers and you're educating your employees on how a business runs, the value of them to be able to learn that and really truly understand how the company operates, they are going to be able to positively contribute even more, right? They're going to know, hey, what I do, maybe the overtime or the expenses or whatever it might be is going to have a direct impact on our bottom line. And so the more we share the numbers, what we're doing each month is part of that is really educating, depending on it's about 30 minutes to an hour on the financials each month with our team, going over those and really opening up the floor to ask questions and educating our team on that so that they know how they internally have a direct impact as well to just the financial success of the company. So yes, I mean, it could, you're kind of sharing, behind the curtain, what's going on, but we just found so much value. And again, it just, when I share that with candidates, Trace, I think they're like, wow, your company does that right off the bat. They see that, again, we're trying to be transparent and open and honest with our employees, which I think is integral to building that trust.
Can you recall some of the initial successes that you saw by opening up the books to your team?
Ooh, that's a hard question, Trace. I know for sure off the bat, everyone just felt like, just wow, the owners are willing to share this with us. I think that just the success of that is where they are feeling that connection, even more of a connection to the company because they are, they're surprised that the company is willing to open up and do this. But how we communicated it, Trace, how we communicated the rollout of open book management was really number one by telling them that we want them to be educated on it. The main point of this was for us to educate our employees on how the company runs. And that right there, I think showed, we're investing back into them and their development as individuals as well. And I think that was received very positively to our employees. And then also, it just sparked a lot of questions. And how fruitful is that to have conversations where our employees are really like, light bulbs are turning on and they're starting to, get more interested in the numbers. And the other piece that we tie it to, Trace, is at the end of the year, we have a profit sharing bonus. And so each month we're looking, where are we at in terms of the profit sharing bonus? And that's a direct impact on what they're going to receive at the end of the year. And so they're more motivated to be involved in this and really try to understand it.
Well, we started this interview by saying we're going to shatter how people are thinking about HR.
Yeah.
I think we've shattered about 12 things so far.
Excellent.
One of the biggest issues that anybody that does any hiring in the water treatment industry has is, how do I find the right people? Any insight on what we should be doing?
Yeah, so it's a competitive market out there, Trace, especially in the water treatment industry. You need to stand out and be unique right from the get-go. And I think I can share just a few things that I think has worked really well for us. First off, the first thing that someone does, or even how they're going to get connected with you, may be a job posting. And for us, our postings are have a very clear description. It's not too lengthy. It's very straightforward, but we're also clearly sharing our total rewards and benefits package. And when we do interviews, that tends to be one of the first things that stick out to employees on why they even want to apply. Secondly, I think we have a unique advantage in the water treatment industry in a lot of sense that we have field service engineers that really can have flexibility in a sense and can create, their own schedules. And what people are looking for right now in the market are what candidates are looking for is work-life balance. And so to be able to really hone that in and share that benefit of this role The thing is that you need to do though is you can't just share that and then have them come back to your team and now your managers are working them and not focusing on that work-life balance. So it needs to start internally first within your companies, because you can have a field service engineer position and not have work-life balance too, right? But we've really promoted that within our company and the importance of that. We're asking managers in quarterly conversations to check in on the employee's time off throughout the year. How much time off have you taken? If you haven't taken it yet, when are you planning to take it? How can we help support you? And so really that's a competitive advantage, is that the value that people have on the work-life balance and then us living out that promise. And then I think another thing is in our interviews, we're really transparent and we're really just open and honest about our company and our culture. We try to be very genuine about that. And I think that helps us to set the stage really well for the employees. And we've gotten a lot of positive feedback on just how we interact. We're not telling you something that's not true. We're going to be as honest and forthcoming as possible. And the other thing there that we're able to share is they're not just, they're going to be cared for in our company, and they're not just a number. And gosh, Trace, how many times I've heard in interviews when candidates come in that they're just sick of being another number and they feel like managers don't care about them. And all they feel like is, they're being talked about their profitability, and that's not who we are and that's not what we do. And so I think that's really a way that we stand out, that I think other companies should not, dismiss that and the importance of it. And then I think the last thing is we already talked about those check-ins. There's been so much value to really having our new hires go through those check-ins, and they know they're being heard, right? Even just feeling like they're being heard there's so much impact that allows us to retain our employees.
Tia, what is an employee value proposition?
So an employee value proposition is the idea, like, what are you communicating to the candidate that you are able to promise and fulfill? Like, where do you stand out as a company? And I think for someone to have a really strong employee value proposition, you need to sit down. And so this is why I am super clear on what ours is. Because I sit on the leadership team, I have the opportunity to really get super clear on what our unique value is that we offer to a candidate. And what, again, as we just talked about in the market, what sets you apart from the competitors. And the way that I've been able to do that is we run on EOS, the Entrepreneurial Operating System, which, Trace, I know you guys run on that internally in your company. We're consistently looking at the Vision Traction Organizer, like a ridiculous amount of times. How many times I've actually looked at the VTO is crazy, but I know it so well and it's embedded in me, right? Because of how many times we review it. And we have just been able to gain such a clear understanding of who we are as a company and what we aim to achieve overall, that process has allowed me to get clarity on how to effectively communicate the employee value proposition. And yeah, it just allows me to see the unique value we offer. And it's crucial to just talent management in general. And for me then to be able to communicate to that to my HR team on who we are, what we do, and how we can communicate that back to the candidate.
Before we jump back into our discussion, we're going to take a quick break to hear from one of our sponsors. Hey there, Scaling Up Nation. It's Trace Blackmore. And if there's one thing we know as water treaters, it's that success comes from building strong partnerships. And that's exactly what North Metal and Chemical Company is all about. My friends at North Metal are committed to creating long-term relationships built on trust, reliability, and innovation. Their industry-specific expertise means they understand your challenges and work tirelessly to provide great Northwest products along with a personal touch. With dedicated technical support, North Metal and Chemical Company stands out as a partner who truly cares about your success in the industrial water treatment space. Head over to scalinguph2o.com/north and start building a partnership you can count on. Once again, that's scalinguph2o.com/north. North Metal and Chemical Company, serving the water treatment industry since 1921. Let's dive back in right where we left off. I know your leadership team does a great job with measuring everything that it can. How do you put a measure on something like culture and employee engagement?
Yeah, it can be challenging at times to measure that. But in our organization, there's a few metrics that we look at internally. And number one is we look at a Q12 engagement survey. So if for anyone that wants to look this up, it's through Gallup. And it is a survey where they have statistically identified 12 questions that have a direct impact on a company's, each question specifically has a direct impact on company financial performance and success. It ties back to, the company's profitability, safety incidents, attendance. There's just a ton of statistics there. But this survey we implemented 4 years ago. Oh my gosh, it's almost maybe 5 years ago now. Time flies when you're having fun. But we've been able to see, we send this out every 6 months, and we've been able to track our engagement scores. And we were able to achieve a 4.62 out of 5, which is really exceptional. But it didn't start there, right? We had a lot of work to do to be able to get there. But what's really cool is that it actually, a lot of these questions align really well with EOS, which is really interesting. Like the first question is, I am clear on my expectations. And for us then to go back, what we did is one of the HR initiatives we did was we assured that every single person had a really clear and up-to-date seat definition. And it directly related back to the Q12. So that's one important metric or like measurable that we look at to, be able to kind of see the company's success overall. But I think really just number one is company financial performance, right? That's key. We got to make sure that we're performing well as a company. And we've seen that. Another one is turnover rate, right? We need to make sure that we're retaining our employees and we're creating a stable workforce. We also look at employer modification rating. And for those of might not be intertwined with work comp, that has a significant impact on the premium rates because they use that number. And we actually just had a safety committee meeting today where we tracked, where we were at in our EMR. And yeah, we had some issues at one point in time. And it's just so crazy to see the thing. Like I could probably plot it on a graph. Maybe I should do this. Now you're thinking through this. I should do this. But like tying in our EMR, like that goes down, you want a lower EMR. I was just seeing that on the graph. It goes down. Our engagement scores have been going up and our profitability has been going up. So like, it's really cool to think about that and just how much direct impact, at least like we've been able to see in our organization. And yeah, just the impact that HR can have on a company and these strategies on creating a healthy culture that has direct impact on all these metrics.
Tia, you have the coolest title added to your name. It is Certified Dream Manager. Tell us about that.
Yeah, this is an interesting one, Trace. I think it's funny. So my Dream Manager certification course, the coach, she said, if someone asks you what you do as a dream manager, you should ask them, tell me what your dreams are and I'll tell you what I do. I just thought it was so cute and cheesy, but like if anyone is super interested in this program, I highly recommend reading The Dream Manager by Matthew Kelly. It's really a book just that it's really easy read because it reads as a fable, but it goes over what the entire, like the purpose of the Dream Manager program is and how, there was an example of how companies have implemented it. But the core idea of the Dream Manager program is when you engage your employees in their personal dreams, it's going to have a direct impact on your workplace engagement. And so both the owner of my company and I have went through the Dream Manager certification program, and we're both certified Dream Managers, and we've been running the program just only for the last year. So I can't say I have, multiple years of experience here on this, but for us, we have seen just the impact on our employees and also ourselves. We really enjoy doing it. But because we've seen the success from our employees, we are actually expanding the program. And we just got 2 more Dream Managers certified in our company that are going to bring on 10 more employees to go through the program. And what it does is you're meeting once a month with these employees, you're setting dreams, and you're figuring out ways that they can achieve them, like one step at a time. Like, what is one small thing you can do, right, in the next month to hit this dream? And we look at 2 dreams that are achievable in the next year. We look at 1 in the next 1 to 5 years, and then 1 that is 5 or more years ahead. And so we touch on that each month and make sure, are you making progress on these little action items here? And not only that, but the program focuses on a lot of different areas. So it's not just the dreams, we're also talking about where they are and how they can grow financially, physically, emotionally, intellectually, spiritually, professionally. And so it's a really well-rounded program. And we've just seen a lot of breakthroughs and successes with our employees, and a lot of dreams checked off their list that they might not, I've had a few of them come back to me saying they might not have ever done this in the last year. I think one that's really close to my heart right now, and I could get a little teary-eyed about it, but he said his dream is to start a family. And he didn't have a girlfriend even at the time. And he went on dating apps, and every month I would check in with him, and he found someone, and they've been together for the last few months, and it's like seems to really fit. And he hasn't achieved the dream of starting a family yet, but like, how can we help these people work towards these bigger dreams? And so it's super impactful.
It's just amazing because now you're not just an employer, you're not just a manager, you're helping them throughout their entire life. You're a
Yes.
coach, a colleague to help get them to the next step. It's amazing.
Yeah, it's been a wonderful experience, and that's why we're investing more into it for our employees so that more employees can go through it.
So, just like with anything, whenever you start something new, people are suspicious. So, when you rolled the Dream Management program out, how did you squash some of those suspicions?
Yeah, so we rolled it out in a really unique way. We actually had a certified dream manager, but really someone that knows the program in and out. We had a speaker come in to our summit. So every year we have an annual summit where we bring everyone together and their spouses. So spouses were able to join. And my husband was there, and he went through it with me as well. But we did a dream storming session. So this facilitator facilitated the dream storming session, and all of us in the company got to go through that. And so that was even before we had rolled out the program internally. And so everyone in the company got to see, like, how do you go about dreaming? Because we all have dreams, but like we're so stuck in our day to day, and we don't take time to really reflect on like what could all of our dreams be. And there's like 12 different categories that you can dream in. And it's hard, like even in the Dream Manager program, we want you to go and say, like, write down 100 dreams. It's not easy to do that for some people. And so we kind of list out categories, and it just helps you to start thinking of like, what are all the things that I can dream about doing, which is really exciting for people that really don't have a lot of dreams that they're actively working on. And so I think that was the biggest way to to open it up to our company. That was really effective.
Tia, you are shattering everything we are thinking about what HR was. It's no longer a visit to the principal's office. There's so much more. You guys are doing a tremendous job with that. Where do you see HR in 5 to 10 years from now?
Yeah, like many business functions, I think HR is going to continually evolve, but like maybe even more so, right? I think it's really clear to the business world now that HR has a significant impact on company results. And I imagine there's going to be more ways to automate HR, but because it's a people function, there's always going to be a need to help support people resources. And so I don't think it's ever going away. I also think it's going to be even more challenging, especially with some of the new policy changes and the swings that we have in DE&I, for example, and how that's changing under the new administration. So it's going to be a main function of companies and leadership teams, and there's always going to be a need for a voice there.
Tia, we've talked about EOS a couple of times. One of the questions we ask in a annual meeting or a quarterly meeting with the leadership team is what's something we should start doing, what's something we should stop doing. So you have all these people that are listening. When it comes to HR, what's something we should start and something we need to stop?
I think what we need to start doing is we really need to start better supporting our managers. Our managers are the front line and they're setting the example for our employees. And they're really the ones that are giving the direction. And we need better alignment. HR overall needs better alignment with our managers. So I think that's one thing to start doing more of, right? And then in terms of stop, I think if I were to talk to an HR leader, I think the biggest thing that I would tell them to stop doing is stop being intimidating. I think HR leaders can, or just the HR department in general, can really come off as intimidating.
Sure, it's the principal's office, like we just said.
Yes, and that needs to stop. And I think I shared some things today that really would help HR leaders to better do that, to better build that alliance with employees and managers as well, and show them that HR leaders, you can't be in HR if you don't care, and you got to care for employees.
Tia, you've been in meetings where I've facilitated before, and I like to ask the same question, but slightly different. So, in your experience, what single HR initiative tends to have the most significant impact on a company's success?
Yeah, Trace, I believe the effectiveness of an HR initiative is going to largely depend on the current state of where a company is at. And so for us, I want to say that implementing EOS and having a really good operating system that clarifies what our core values, our mission, our vision, all of that has just been foundational for us. And without this in place, other HR initiatives are going to fall short. For instance, if you're focusing solely on, let's say you're trying to implement a learning and development platform, but you don't have clear seat definitions, right? Or role responsibilities, the employee's not going to fully understand what their responsibilities are. Why would you add additional training if you're unsure if they're fulfilling all aspects of their current role? So I think there isn't one single HR initiative that is going to solve everything, like a magic spell. It's not going to work that way, but it's crucial to have a strong foundation to build upon. And then referring back to a lot of the initiatives that I talked about today, building upon those after you have that initial foundation.
Tia, this has been great. I have no doubt that people are probably going to be sharing this with their HR membership on their team if they have not listened to it on their own. I have no doubt that you are going to create tremendous ripples from things that you've shared with us here today. But I do still have some lightning round questions for you if you're ready.
Yeah, let's go.
All right. Question number one. If you could go back in time and talk to your former self on your very first day as an HR professional, what advice would you give yourself?
Yeah, I would tell myself to take a deep breath, a real deep breath, to stay calm. How many times when something came up that I didn't expect, did not stay calm. So I would say stay calm. And really what has allowed me to be as successful is just learn all you can. I didn't go into HR. I didn't, go for my bachelor's in HR. I went for psychology, but I really just was self-taught and I love learning. That's one of my top 5 strengths. So it can come naturally to me, but that was the one piece of advice I would just say is just keep learning because you're going to get there.
Tia, what are some of your must-read books that you think somebody that's in HR needs to have read?
Yeah, I think there's quite a bit. Again, as I mentioned, I'm a learner and I love to read. I would say number one, How to Be a Great Boss. That's an EOS book, as well as Traction is another excellent EOS book. I would say Three Signs of a Measurable Job by Patrick Lencioni. Patrick Lencioni has a ton of great books, so all of them are great and wonderful. I think that's really relevant to HR. Gala has a book called Wellbeing at Work, How to Build Resilient and Thriving Teams by Jim Clifton and Jim Harder. And then People, which is another EOS book, Dare to Build an Intentional Culture. It's kind of part of that Traction library. And then finally, I think this is one that I would say is an HR book, but really in terms of how to help your managers and help your employees. And it really has been a personal read for me to just advance in my role. Beyond High Performance by Jason Jaggard. But I have a lot more, so I can definitely send a list of HR books.
We will make sure to put that list in its entirety on the show notes page.
Excellent.
Thank you for that. Tia, when they make a movie about your life, who do you want playing Tia?
So I would say I think Mila Kunis. I loved
Okay.
her in during high school. I watched the '70s show, but not only that, she's really evolved into a different kind of actor over time, and so I think she's really versatile. And I think she goes from comedy to like dramatic scenes, so like seamlessly, and that I think can be really relatable to me in HR, right? Like I want to come to work every day and laugh and have a good time, but you got to get into that mode, that serious mode at times. And I just think overall she's really genuine and relatable, and she has really good philanthropic efforts overall. She that are close to her. She's done work on, the Ukrainian support and anti-child sexual abuse. So overall, I think that would be a good answer.
I'm sure she would be lucky to get the part. My final question, if you could talk to anybody throughout history, who to be with and why?
Yeah, I really enjoyed, I think besides like maybe, family members personally, but outside of that, I really enjoyed my philosophy classes in college, actually. So I think it would be really cool to go back and talk to like Confucius or Rene Descartes. I don't know. It's one of those philosophical, leaders. So
Tia, this has been eye-opening. I have no doubt that people are thinking there are a lot of things that we can do differently, we can do better now that we know to do them. Thank you for leading that charge.
yeah, thank you for having me, Trace, and happy to be a resource and a contact for anyone that wants to reach out for support.
Tia, once again, thank you for coming on the podcast. I absolutely love Tia's approach to human resources and how strategic that she is. I think she is cutting edge in the water treatment industry. She has such a passion for employee engagement, transparent culture, continuous learning, and all of the like. She is a Rising Tide Mastermind member and a member of the Scaling Up Nation. Now, she's actually spoken to the Rising Tide Mastermind several times, and she's given us some ideas on some things that we can do within our HR departments to try to be on the cutting edge like she does each and every day. And this was such an insightful interview. And I hope everybody is thinking, how can I be intentional about building culture? I truly believe that culture trumps everything. And good things live in a good culture. Bad things are allowed to live in a bad culture. And if you have a company, a team that is based on culture, the things that get in the way where people say, I can't believe this person did that, those will instantly have a light shined on them because the culture just simply will not allow it. So, how are you building your culture? Of course, we heard several things that HOH and Tia are doing. I love how they're doing open book management and how they are being so deliberate about communicating their values. That's something we try to do here. We use the EOS, the Entrepreneur Operating System, and everything we do is based on our core values. Every decision we make, every hire we make, it's all around our core values. And if it doesn't get supported by our core values, we do not waste any time on it. That is not something that we're going to take on. It's got to fit our core values. And if it does, then we decide, is this something we should do? Is this the right time to do it? Now, Tia mentioned a lot of tools during today's interview. We're going to make sure that all of those are on our show notes page. But one of the tools that she did mention was Gallup's Q12 engagement survey. And this is available wherever you want to look for it. There are 12 simple questions that I really encourage you to ask your team. They're based on Maslow's hierarchy of needs. And if you don't know what those are, it's not important. I just learned that with my MBA, so I wanted to share that. But the Q12 survey allows us to know that the team that we're responsible for are getting all the items that they need to receive in order to feel like they are thriving in their environment. So it's a great tool. It's a free tool. Of course, it doesn't have to be free. You can engage Gallup or other companies, and they will come in and do a tremendous amount of research and counseling for you if that's something that you want to do. But if you've done nothing and you want to just dip your toe in the water, you can very easily find this survey online, give it to your employees, and then you'll have to decipher what the information is. But that's fairly easy. There are a bunch of white papers that talk about that. There's a really good one with the Harvard Business Review if you want to look for one. So all of that is available to you. And then the last thing I'll mention is the implementation of the Dream Manager program. How incredible is that? Not only do we want to embrace all the things that I started talking about in the beginning of this podcast, how are we ensuring that we are sharpening the saw? How are we making sure that we're staying at the top of our game? But how do we make sure that we're growing? How do we turn those dreams into goals and actually step in with our team members to help them achieve those goals? I think that program is amazing. Tia, thank you for exposing us to that. Thank you for telling us all the things that you all are doing. And I'll have Tia's information if you want to reach out with her and ask her some questions specifically. She loves talking about this stuff. So feel free to go to the show notes page on today, and we are going to have all of that information for you. Nation, do you have a guest that you absolutely want to hear on this podcast? You think that the Scaling Up Nation needs the information that this guest has for us? Well, please let me know who that guest is All you have to do is go to scalinguph2o.com, go over to our show ideas page. Let us know who that guest is, or maybe you have a show idea. Maybe you have a question. Maybe you have some kind of information that you want to get from you to us. Well, that's how you do it. You go to the webpage, you go over to the show ideas, and that's how we know that we are hitting on target each and every week what we are supposed to be talking about. Nation, I am sure glad that you are listening to the Scaling Up H2O podcast. That means you are a member of the Scaling Up Nation. And Nation, we are always looking for new members of the Scaling Up Nation. How do we get new members of the nation? Well, that's your job. I need for you that when you're around other water treaters, talk about this podcast. Make sure people know that there is an industrial water treatment podcast out there for them, and they need to subscribe. Make sure if you're not subscribed, subscribe to this podcast. You never have to worry about when is the next episode coming out. By the way, it's always coming out on Friday. Let technology do the work for you, and your podcast player will deliver it to you each and every Friday when it is brand new. So when you're driving from account to account, you will have a brand new episode to listen to. Won't have to go looking for it. It will be right there. Nation, thank you for listening. Thank you for allowing me to do something that I absolutely love to do, which is hosting this podcast. And of course, we're going to have a brand new episode for you next week. In the meantime, how are you going to sharpen that saw? Take care, everybody. Struggling to prepare for the Certified Water Technologist exam? Our Certified Water Technologist prep course is here to help. Gain the confidence you need with comprehensive study materials and a 100-question practice exam. And the best part, we offer a free version to get you started. Head over to scalinguph2o.com/CWT prep and take the first step towards your certification today.